Hello and welcome back to Lawrence and the Machine. We have just got back from our first race with the Tomcat and well, it did better than expected really, but that's not to say that we don't have a massive long list of changes to make before the next one to make it even better next time. So we're going to rattle through those today. Now there's two kind of sets of changes to make really. One to make the scrutineers happy and the other to make the car faster. Now we'll start with the scrutineers stuff to make them happy first. Now, the scrutineers had two comments really. One that the passenger needed a grab handle and they've given me a really good tip on how to sort of get around that regulation. I'll show you that later. And the second was that the race numbers down the side of the car need to be above waist height. Now, what most people do in this situation is they just get sort of a piece of plastic with their race number written on it and cable tie it to the back roll cage somewhere. And I don't really like that solution. So in order to completely overcomplicate this solution, I have been out and bought this. Now this is the back section of the tub. It's kind of the roof for the tub, if you like. Now you don't need it, obviously we've done the first race without it, but it will provide us a great space just here to put our new race numbers, and of course that'll be above waist height. Now I don't really like the sort of canopy, full canopy look on the back. I prefer the pickup style bodywork. So what we're going to do now, just before we start repairing all of these bashes and crashes and filling up holes, is we're going to sit it on the tub at the back and just work out where we're going to cut out, and then we're not repairing stuff that we're not going to ever use. Very quickly, there was a problem, because what I thought I bought was a canopy for a 100-inch Tomcat, but what I'd actually bought was a canopy for a 93-inch Tomcat. There was no way I was buying a brand new one from Tomcat to do what we were planning to do. So, after much deliberation, we came up with a plan meaning we could still use the one we had, and it also meant that a lot of the repair work that we would have had to do was now in the scrap bin. Right, the roof's done now, or rather as much as I'm going to do with it. Gracie's going to come down and she's going to repair it all, get it sanded down and paint it properly. Then we can stick the stickers on, tick for the scrutineers. The second thing that the scrutineers said was that the passenger needs a grab handle. Now, in my head, a grab handle is something that's just welded to the front of the cage and it's something for the passenger to grab onto here. I don't like that, and also I don't like grinding off all my powder coating, so they gave me a little bit of a trick. It's just something for the passenger to do with their hands, and they said as long as they got something to grab onto, that is a tick from them. So they said if you tie a bit of seat belt to something under the seat, something nice and secure, then that's fine. So that's what I've done. Bit of seat belt out of a BMW. You can literally hang cars from this, so it's not going to be, it's not like it's not strong enough. So they can just sit there and hold this. Not that my passenger's going to use it, it's going to go nicely under the seat. But at least it ticks box with regulations. Right then, we've made waves into making the scrutineers happy, and while we do need to keep those people happy, we also need to make waves into making the car better, basically making it faster. And that's why we are in the LTM canteen, or rather, my kitchen, because I'd like to nerd out for a moment. Now you see, ever since I posted the first ever building the fastest Tomcat in the world probably video, way back in January it was now, there was a number of comments from people naturally saying, oh well, you won't be faster than this person because they're running a 5-litre V8 in their Tomcat. Oh, you won't be faster than this person because their shocks are worth more than Elon Musk. But there was one name that kept cropping up time and time again in quite a few people's comments, and it was, you won't be faster than Mick Chick. So naturally, because we are trying to build the fastest Tomcat in the world, probably, we're using his lap times as a benchmark for ourselves. Now luckily for us, Mick is competing in the 2026 Staffs and Shrops Championship, same as us, so it's a good chance for us to compare our lap times basically. Now, I don't know exactly what setup engine-wise, Mick's running his car. It must be something ALRC spec because he did the Nationals. So it's probably a 4.6 V8 from a P38. And the key thing about Mick is that he pedals it really, really well. I've chatted to Mick a couple of times, it's dead sound, and he's very kindly agreed to let us use some of his onboard footage to compare with some of our onboard footage, to basically so that we can see where we're losing time, and from that we can create a list of jobs to improve for next time. Now this is where the nerdy bit comes in, because I've been into our editing software and I've put our onboard footage next to each other, but crucially starting it at the same point at different points in the lap. You'll see what I mean anyway. And the first clip I wanted to show you was the first straight at Baden at our first race, just to see how we compare in terms of straight line speed. There is a shed at the end of the first straight, and we'll kind of use that as a marker so that we can see how we compare based on who gets to the shed first. Assuming I've made the clip start at the same point on the lap, it actually appears that the M57 reaches the shed first, only by a little bit, and I think it's down to the massive amounts of torque that the M57 makes. And while I'm changing gear more than Mick, the 8-speed means that it just does it seamlessly. There's no loss of momentum between all the gears. So it looks as if we have absolutely no issues with straight line speed. There's no improvements to make there. Right, so let's move on to the next clip. The next clip focuses around suspension. Now you can't see it very well on this clip, but this was the bumpiest bit of the lap, basically. The best way I can describe it is that it was washboard, but each of the bumps was about a foot deep. So it was pretty horrible, to say the least. And you can see the way Mick just glides over the bumps and pulls away, and meanwhile I'm going down every bump, hitting the bump stops every single time. I mean, you can see what a difference that makes. Now the final clip I wanted to show you kind of reinforces the two clips that I've just shown you, but it kind of amalgamates the two because it includes a long straight to start off with, and then it breaks off into a lot more bumpy stuff, and you can see the contrast between the two. So up to this point in the clip, we are absolutely neck and neck. But just look at how much Mick pulls away in the next section. I mean, look, I can carry on all day putting lots and lots of different bits of the lap next to each other and saying, oh well, we could do to make this better and we could do to make this better. But I think it's quite clear from what we've seen already what the improvements are. No improvements need to be made in terms of power, torque, how the gearbox works, because we are as fast as Mick, if not faster, on the straights. But when the going gets a bit bumpy, that's when we really start to fall behind. So I reckon the next jobs that we need to do is work on the suspension, and I think specifically work on the amount of travel we have on the axles. And the reason why we didn't have enough travel, if I come under here and show you, is because I've put these big massive bump stops on. You see them? That one's actually bent because we've hit it so hard. This one's fine, but they're big, massive, and we've only got this amount of travel between there and there before it starts hitting bump stops. Now the reason I put those big ones on is because the prop shaft, how am I best to show you this, the prop shaft is very close to this engine mount. So the engine mount's just here, and it kind of comes down to a point here and then heads off towards the engine. And the distance between here and the prop shaft isn't massive. Now of course we could just completely make a new engine mount, redesign it and whatever, but I think we can use this original one and just kind of make it a bit smaller and put strength in different places. So that's the job now. I need to get a transmission jack underneath the engine, unbolt the engine mount, take it to the bench and then chop the bottom off it effectively. The other thing we need to do, because we're going to end up having more travel, is adjust the exhaust, which is just here. The prop, I don't know if you can see any rub marks, just here. The prop has been rubbing on the exhaust with the amount of travel that it has now. So we need to modify the exhaust, just twist it, turn it up so that it's up here a little bit more. And then hopefully we'll be able to chop these bump stops down, maybe even half them, and we can have more travel before we start hitting bump stops. So that's the job now. Let's get cutting. Right, I've done the engine mount. Here it is. Basically, all I've done is half the width of it, or the depth of it, depending on how you look at it, and then I've welded another support. This is not the best way of showing you. In the middle of it, so any strength that we've lost from losing the depth, we've added back in by putting another support in. So, time to refit it and then do the exhaust. Whilst I got on with the exhaust modifications, Lee set to making the chassis modifications that we'd made at the last race look like something that was meant to be there. Hey, Ed's just had a brainwave. Said we need to get more upwards travel on the back of the Tomcat, because obviously we kept hitting the bump stops and whatever else whilst we were racing. And he said, oh, well, what you need to do is lift it. And I must admit, when he first said, oh, you need to lift it, I thought, no, that's not really what I want to do, because it ended up just like falling over, centre of gravity, whatever else. And he said, no, just by a little bit. And he said, there's a way to do it by changing the spring seat. Now on the Discovery 2, which is the ones we're using, the spring seat is quite deep, but if you use Defender spring seat, they're actually a lot shallower, by about half an inch, 3/4 of an inch. Effectively, when you fit the Defender ones, it will lift the car at the back by, half an inch, 3/4 of an inch. It's a really good idea. So we've pulled some off the shelf, painted them up, and we're going to swap those now. The other thing is, we managed to snap a spring whilst we were racing last time. I've been on Tomcat and they said, oh, it's very strange, especially in the place that it's snapped. I'll show you a picture of how it snapped. I've been onto Tomcat and they said, oh yeah, we'll just send you another one. Never happened before, but very good service, thanks Tomcat. Hopefully it gets back to us in time, because it's Monday now and we're racing again on Sunday, so hopefully they get it back to us in time for then. But currently it's just sat on some pieces of wood, which obviously isn't ideal for racing. So please Tomcat, send spring, thank you. Now, if you're a regular watcher to Lawrence and the Machine, you'll know that if there's ever two of a thing to do, for example, 2 Gullwing doors, I'll have already done one of them before I ever turn the camera on. And it's no different now, because I have actually already done one of the Gullwing doors. And I wouldn't usually show you this part of the process, but we've learned quite a few interesting things that we'll end up using on the other side, which I thought would be interesting to show you. The first thing that we've learned is that this sort of flange bit at the top of the door, I'll just close it for you so you can see it, this bit here is quite weak. So originally this hinge was just connected to this top bit, and when you opened it up, still does it a bit now, when you open it up, all it did was bend this flange, and it really didn't do much. And after you've opened it and closed it a few times, I imagine that would just snap along that sort of line there. So I've extended this hinge down a little bit. It now actually bolts through the frame on this side. This is already extended anyway, so that's fine. The second thing that we learned is that the gas struts that Tomcat provide are massively too strong. I think they're like 400 newtons of pushing force. Honestly, you let go of the door and you could play tennis with it if you wanted to. So I rang Mark at Tomcat and said, oh, they're too strong, have you got any weaker ones? And he said, they're adjustable, you idiot. So they are actually adjustable. So I've adjusted it up a bit. It actually needs a little bit more, but obviously, I don't know if you've ever adjusted gas struts before. If you let the gas out too much, then it'll be too weak anyway, and there's no way of getting it back apart from sending them off, and I'm not doing that. So now it opens kind of like that, which I think is all right. We'll get the latching system sorted out, which is all of the weight that will be on the door, and then we'll just let a little bit more gas out, because I think it just needs a little bit less power. Talking about the latching system, we've learned that even though I knew the latching system was going to be quite difficult, we've learned that it's even harder than I thought it might be. And basically the reason for it is that you've got nothing, or well, I haven't got anything to connect any latching system to. Either, well, there's a bit of space on the door, there's nothing here or here to connect the latching system to. What my thoughts were, I was originally going to do, is just have the latching system at the front here, so that I could get to it from the inside and get to it from the outside. And if I shut this down, the thing is, with the system that I'd come up with, is that it would only support the door at the front. So if I support the door at the front, the thing is the back of the door is quite loose and a bit rubbish. And vice versa, if I just support it from the back, the front is still quite loose and mucking about. But if I support it from the middle, you know, all the door's quite strong. So I think that's what we're going to end up having to do. But, you know, Gullwing door's basically there. And look how cool this is. That is cool. That is mightily cool. So having not got a proper latching system in mind just yet, I started on the passenger door. By now, Gracie had finished her work with the canopy, so we fitted that, and I think it's turned out alright. Now, just before we head off to the race, we need to revisit the doors, because we spent an awful long time trying to come up with a decent latching system, all the while saying, if only the door was stronger, if only this and if only that. So I have decided to scrap the Tomcat doors and I'm going to make my own. Only there was no time for this before we headed off, so the nets were refitted and the doors put back on the shelf. Right then, we're back racing for the second time with our new improved car. It's here, it's in fine fettle. Couple of things of note. Royal Mail have lost our numbers, which are meant to be going up here. I spoke to the scrutineer and he said, look, it's fine, it's not a muddy site, so they're not going to get covered with stuff. So for this race, these ones are fine, that's all good. The other thing to note is that Tomcat didn't manage to get us our spring in time, so we are actually racing on a broken spring. I mean, we didn't actually notice until after the last lap on the other race. So we'll see how that goes. I've got some spare springs with me, just if we need to swap the back end over. That'll be fine. The main challenge that we're going to have today is that my hay fever is really quite bad and has been all weekend. So my eyes are streaming and my nose is running. Good. But we're here, sun's shining. Let's see how we get on today. Today we were racing at a site called Fernown Wood near Evesham, and as a contrast to where we were racing last time, the main challenge at this site was trees. Lots and lots of trees. Not hitting these trees was going to be one challenge, but remembering the course was going to be the next.
You guys nervous about any of it?
Not any specific bit. I just can't remember where we're going, and I'm not even sure, but that by the end of the day, having done 7 runs,
it just all looks the same.
Yeah, it's just forest and then turn left, and then forest,
turn right,
and then turn right, and then big straight, maybe, and then turn left. And so, with both driver and co-driver brimming with confidence, we set off on our first run.
No, it isn't right.
It might be left.
couldn't see it.
Turn one of the ways.
Yeah. Alright, last bit. There you go, stop. Whew.
Couldn't see me time.
No, I didn't see it either. How did that feel?
There is none of that is significantly different that we'd remember it.
No. It's just left, right.
Right, the first lap is complete. My God, it is like when you were a kid, you remember running down a hotel corridor. It is exactly like that. You know, you've got trees, you know, half a metre either side of you, and it just seems like you're going so much faster than you actually are doing. Anyway, hayfaver seems to be holding up today, so fingers crossed we should be all right about that. But yeah, I think the main challenge will be for us today is trees. As you can see, there's a lot of them. First lap is complete and the drivers are just starting their second lap now. And already there are 4 drivers that have retired. I don't know if all of them have hit trees, but if you look at the live timing, yeah, there's four drivers that have retired so far, which is quite many. Hopefully, we'll be able to stay off the trees for the day. And with the thought of just how many trees we could hit, we lined up for our next run.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Going left here.
Just remembered, please send a text in before we set off. That's quicker.
Yeah, do that again then. You go into the yards to the left at the end. Yeah, nice.
Ooh, tree. That tree got close quick.
Yeah, it did, didn't it?
Brakes are fading.
Woo! The what?
Brakes are fading a lot.
At least we're at the end. Right, go. I think I'm...
7:17. That's 30 seconds off.
Yeah, it's better.
Lap 2 complete. We have found a new issue with the car that we've never really experienced before, and that is that the brakes are starting to fade towards the end of the lap, granted, but we're gonna be pushing them harder and harder throughout the day, and obviously they might still be a little bit warm from the previous lap, which is going to be an issue. So what we need to do is kind of wait for as long as possible between all the laps. Might present us with a challenge towards the end of the day, because if we wait too long to do our laps, then we might have to do lots of laps towards the end of the day in quick succession, without allowing the brakes time to cool down, which could result in quite badness. So we're just going to have to sort of throttle that throughout the day and make sure that we get enough laps in, but whilst leaving as big a gap as possible between the laps to let the brakes cool down. So yeah, I think we'll have to. I mean, we're on standard brakes, standard Discovery brakes, but obviously we're trying to stop. What is it? It's about 2/3 of the weight, which I thought would be fine on standard brakes. But I think, yeah, we're going to have to do something about that. Get some better brakes, ceramics or whatever. We can have a look at that in the workshop next week. But yeah, we are doing mightily well at the minute. I think we're 16th overall out of 43 drivers, which I think is mightily good. Granted, 8 of them have retired by now. After the second lap, eight drivers have retired, either by hitting a tree or breaking down or whatever. You know, But 16th overall, I think, on the second lap is a mighty, mighty achievement. Let's see what we can do for the rest of the day. With that, we blasted into our afternoon runs, so far missing all of the trees, which is more than can be said of one of our friends racing today. With the car performing well and our new friend Mick Chick just 5 places overall ahead of us on the leaderboard, by the end of our third lap, we were winning our class by a whole minute and 11 seconds. As ever, we like to get a guest navigator in the seat at least once a race. This time we had our friend Lee in the passenger seat, who once again had never sat in one of these type of vehicles before. The first job though was to strap him into the car, which was a mission in itself.
This is a mission, isn't it? This is the hardest bit. Strapping a fat man in. Lean back. Yeah. And then pull them in.
The good thing about all of this is that the brakes had a mighty, mighty long time to cool down before this lap. But as we pulled out of the pits, Ed noticed a small puddle of oil under the back diff, and he wanted to check that all the bolts were still tight before we went out.
That was quick. That was quick, well done. Right, keep an eye on them then, or drain it. You want me to nick front? Yeah. Put Loctite on them. What, they don't come loose again? He said there's 2 turns on each bolt.
After Ed had tightened all of the bolts, front and back,
Yes, this is fast enough now, slow it down please.
we set out on our 4th lap, hoping that with the diff actually bolted in, we could put in a faster lap.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Jump medium left! Back to the left, my nose is running. Side left. I'm not wiping your nose. This is sharp. This is sharp. Way sharper. Oh, yeah, way sharper. Put a pin left. Yes. Wait, that was fast. Hard left. Oh, it's a tree. That was close. Slippy down here. Yeah, you can smell the bricks now. Power. Don't go forward. Keep it in. That's still faster. 7:10. Well done. That was still a good drive. That. You're now. It's fast, isn't it? Yeah, like mega fast. Yeah, I think it's like because my helmet kept sliding down like that, so I couldn't see where I was going. So I had to keep picking my helmet up and pushing my glasses back on. Yeah, that was awesome. That was good. Let's tighten them diff bolts up. Yeah.
Right, we have reached the limit of the brakes now. They are starting to fade sort of earlier and earlier in the lap, which means that when we left them to cool down after the second lap, that wasn't long enough. But I think to get enough laps in throughout the day, we can't really leave it any longer. So we're going to have to just, well, be careful with the brakes basically, but I think a better way of doing it would be to do a lot more engine braking and be careful on the brakes. Either don't use the brakes or absolutely stamp on the brakes to lock them up, so that they're not heating it up. But you know, I could use locked up brakes to turn, for example. It's quite hard to do that, but yeah, that's another option I can do. So we're gonna have to look at these brakes when we get back to the workshop. Give them something else to give me something else to think about. By the time we reached lap 5 and 6, we knew the course well and could get the hammer down just that little bit more, taking our time from 7:42 on the first lap of the day down to 7:08 on our 5th run and 7:04 on our 6th run. After the pit crew had tightened the diff bolts up again, we then got on the start line for our final lap. And by this point we were in a very comfortable first in class, a full 3 minutes and 3 seconds ahead of the driver who was currently second in our class. We were 12th overall, just 4 places from our new friend Mick, so we lined up for the last lap, pleased at the result that we managed to get today and confident that we had a class win.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
It's slippy here.
Yeah.
Nearly lost it with me.
Really?
Yeah.
You're then following up into a hill where you want to speed! Smell the race! Shallow right, very speed. Hard left, out the hill.
That's a tyre. No, it's not.
Something. What do we need? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we're okay.
Okay. Rubbish!
That's a tie rod.
Damn! Last lap!
Just coming downhill, hit a rock, and then, well, I thought it were a tyre off actually, but when I really couldn't steer, that was, we knew it was a big problem. But we were stuck on track, and I thought, well, how we know steering, how am I going to get off the track? So I just pressed the accelerator, and I thought, well, we'll either go one way or the other, it'll make it bad or worse. And it just tickled in here, but you can see how close we are to this tree. In fact, well, we're touching it. Yeah, so we've gone and stolen the steering arm off Lee's car so that we can drive this back front trail, and then we'll refit his back so we can get on. So we'll have to see what it does to us overall placings. I think we'll still do well, but what we can get a maximum, it's, my math is terrible, 6 minutes extra. So I think we might be bottom at diesels, well, the bottom of diesels that haven't retired. Rubbish! Yeah, finished the day in the side of a tree. Not caused any damage though, which is a plus. No trees were harmed and no tomcats were harmed in the making of this video. But yeah, it is quite annoying that happened literally on the last lap. Really not far from the end of the lap either. So we've ended up second in class and something like 20th overall today. It is proof actually that you can be winning all day and then something go wrong on the last lap and it will shove you down the table considerably. And obviously the faster you're doing your laps, the more you have to lose by having a maximum, which is quite rubbish. But the positive we can draw from this is that even though we had a maximum on last lap, we've still come 20th, which I think, 20th overall and second in class, which I think is brilliant. And also, another really positive thing is that our new friend Mick, on the 6th lap, we were only 9 seconds away from matching his lap time, which I think is pretty fantastic for our second race, and having brakes that are less than ideal. We're actually missing the next S&S race because we're doing another event which we're not taking cameras to it. So the next time we'll see the Tomcat will be at Greenall. I'm very excited for Greenall because I think I think that car will shine. Basically, it's in a massive big valley, loads of fields in a massive big valley, and yeah, I think the torque of the M57 will shine there, I think. But we'll see when we get there, obviously. I think that all that's left to do is to thank S&S for another fantastic event, and yeah, we're going to go back to the workshop with another mighty long list of things to do, and hopefully next time we'll actually have doors. I have a couple of ideas in mind about how to do my doors, so you'll see that in the next video anyway. Right, oh, so out of breath. I'm so unfit. Okay, right, we'll see you next time at Greenall. Goodbye.